If the NFL season ended today, the Detroit Lions would not be in the playoffs. So good thing, still got 7 more weeks left. Welcome into the Lions Game Plan. I'm Jacob Seuss, once again joined by Mike Payton from A to Z Sports. And Mike, still 7 weeks to go here in the regular season. Plenty of football left to be played. But man, Sunday night in Philadelphia was ugly. The defense played great, but the offensive side of the ball certainly left a lot to be desired.
Yeah, it was definitely not the Lions' best outing for sure. Just a lot of offensive line issues, the wind with the kicks and J-Mo's penalty, and just everything that could have gone wrong offensively seemed to go wrong. But defensively, I thought that was one of the more impressive games I've seen them play all year.
And it's a shame that they did waste that defensive performance. So, I mean, there's a bunch of things we have to touch on, a bunch of things that came up from that game. The weather is one of them. I mean, in these final 7 games, the Lions will go to Denver. They'll go to Chicago. I think that might be it as far as where the weather could get a little dicey. Are you worried about this team, how they play outside of Ford Field, outside of nice conditions? I know Twitter loved to talk about Goff and his glove on Sunday night. Does that have anything to do with it once this team gets out in the elements?
No, that's just one of those classic narratives that it's never been true, but it's one of those things that maybe Goff had a bad game in the snow once, and then it just became like that's all he is. But in reality, every game he's played outside in the winter, you add them all up, he's thrown for 15 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, completing 64% of his passes. Like, that's not bad. That's pretty good. And he really hasn't played outside as much as I think everybody might think he has. He spent most of his career in L.A. and then all of his, the rest here in Detroit in a dome. So I'm not concerned about it. I don't think the gloves are an issue too. I think that's just overblown stuff. People trying to find reasons to blame the quarterback because it's the easiest thing to do.
Of course. 0 for 5 on 4th down. Looking back, I mean, I didn't question any of those 4th downs except the punt. I always feel like if you're going to do the fake punt, might as well put your best talent out there and just go for it. It just didn't work out, and that's the case with the Dan Campbell team. You know, it's going to stick out when something like that doesn't work, but it's been the same issue for most of the season. 3rd down, 4th down, just such a hard time converting. I mean, at this point in the season, is this a fixable issue? I mean, we talked about this going into the bye. The team talked about it a few weeks ago, and it really hasn't gotten any better.
Yeah, I think you look to last week when they played the Commanders, and they went 5 for 10 on 3rd down, but really it was like 5 for 8 because the last 2 3rd downs were Kyle Allen kneeling and Kyle Allen throwing an incompletion. So it didn't really count, but like they had a season low, I should say, 3rd down attempts in that game because they kept completing everything on 1st and 2nd. And then when they did get to 3rd down, they were able to get those things going. And then you just kind of meet up in this perfect storm against a really good Eagles team that was just had your number. I really don't think that the Eagles is the truth. You know what I mean? I think the Commanders and everything that we've seen before that is the real truth, where maybe there's some trouble on 3rd downs, but I think they can get themselves out of it.
Do you think, I mean, after that, is Campbell going to start questioning himself more on 4th down, maybe going for it a little less, or is it just this is what we do? It didn't work out on Sunday night. You know, this Sunday is a brand new ball game.
Yeah, everything he's been saying this week has been all about sticking to his identity, sticking to the team's identity. They're going to still do the 4th down thing, and that's fine. But I think if you go into that Eagles game and you maybe kick a field goal here or there, or you punt in a couple of different situations and trust your defense that have been playing so well, I think maybe we're talking a different story. But they may have been overly aggressive in that game, and it was certainly a problem. But I think more than often than not, it works. They were 72% on 4th downs before this game, so it's been working.
Jameson Williams scored for the 2nd straight game, getting him the ball a little more. It's working out. He just can't seem to not be in the headlines for the wrong reasons. I mean, it's hard for me to believe that he didn't know doing something like that would be a penalty. That's something that hurts the team. He's gotten fined a couple times. That doesn't hurt the team, just hurts his wallet. But it just, you keep hoping every year that this is going to stop. And, while it was great to see him once again get in the end zone on Sunday, it didn't wind up being a factor, but the penalty, then the Jake Bates missed extra point, it could have been, that it could have been a factor once we got late into that game.
Yeah, I mean, I think if the problem is no longer getting suspended for gambling or performance enhancing substances, and now it's just, hey, you cost us a point, like I'll take the latter any day of the week. I think he's grown tremendously. There's still some immaturity there with a few things, and yeah, like you can't do stuff like that. You just can't. And even the fines, while that doesn't hurt the team, it hurts you. It hurts your everybody's stereotype of you, and
right.
It just I think it's just little things. He continues to grow. I don't see it as much of a worry. I kind of felt like that whole thing was a little overblown by the commentators, but I get it. I understand what everybody's thinking. I don't really think that it would have changed the game all that much, but
yeah,
I guess we'll never know.
No Sam Laporta this past game. No Sam Laporta this Sunday. Dan Campbell says hopefully it's not season ending, but not looking good. How much does it change the dynamic of this offense without Laporta? Because, I mean, that's a huge subtraction.
Yeah, it changes it a lot. That's essentially Goff's safety valve. He always knows he can go to Laporta underneath, and now he's got Brock Wright, who is a good blocking tight end, but certainly can't do what Sam Laporta can do with yards after the catch and some of the plays that he's able to get open for and be a mismatch with some of these linebackers. So it does change the Lions' offense quite a bit. Personally, I think the best route they should go is the route that they kind of gone already. It's where they've made rookie wide receiver Jackson Meeks a tight end. I think you take him and you put him in that situation, give him some passes, let him do some things with it. I think he could pull it off. He's not going to be as good of a blocker, but if you're using him strictly as a pass-catching tight end, I think you got something there.
At this point, with 7 games to go, I mean, the NFC is just so insanely crowded. But it's daunting to look at the playoff picture and see the Lions on the outside looking in. They have the 9th hardest strength of schedule remaining. Should Lions fans be nearing panic mode? Or is it just, this thing's going to bounce around in the next 7 weeks just because of how crowded the conference is?
Yeah, I think this thing bounces around. I have a pretty high level of confidence that this team is going to continue to make the playoffs again. And I know everybody wants to look at the Bears, who are suddenly 7-3 and leading the division, but they've played 2 teams that have a winning record this year, and they've lost to both of them. One of them being the Lions. And they now have to go up against the Eagles, 49ers, Packers twice, and then the Lions again. The Packers have 5 divisional games and then have the Ravens and the Broncos. The division is, and the Vikings are, they are what they are at this point. But I think that we're going to see a lot of things come out a lot different when in the next few weeks and next month or so. I really see a possibility that both those teams, Packers and Bears, could miss the playoffs while the Lions are in.
And, I mean, the Lions, they need a win Sunday in the worst way, and this is the perfect opportunity to get it. A feel-good game, perhaps, coming back home. You get the next 3 games at home. You get to take on a 2-8 Giants team where the future is bright for this Giants team, potentially, but, they're missing everybody. No Malik Neighbors, no Cam Skattebo. Jackson Dart did practice today, so maybe you get Dart over Jameis Winston. I mean, the Giant secondary is filled with players that, even the biggest football fan probably has never heard of before. I mean, this has got to be an opportunity for the Lions to just go in, take advantage of a not good, injury-riddled team, and, just get a feel-good win.
Yeah, I mean, everything about this game says bounce back for the offensive line, because you look at this Giants defensive front, they are pretty weak on the interior, where a lot of teams have been attacking the Lions lately. They're allowing the most rushing yards in the league, most rushing yards per play. This is exactly the type of game that the Lions offense would love to play in. Probably can't wait to play in. This is a Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery game all the way. And yeah, they've got really good edges with Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns and Abdul Carter, the 2nd pick of the draft this year. But the Lions have only allowed one sack on the outside this year. That was Taylor Decker. It was a little earlier this season. Otherwise, Decker and Sewell have been holding things down. I think the Lions' offensive line is just built perfectly to have a bounce back game against this Giants team.
Yeah, and you beat me to my next question. I mean, where does the offensive line go from here from a personnel standpoint, a confidence standpoint? Because, yeah, they need a bounce back game bad.
Yeah, I don't see the Lions making any changes. There was some thought a couple weeks ago that maybe Tristan Colon could take over at center, but we haven't actually seen that be put into action outside of practice. So going forward, it looks like it's going to be the same thing that you're used to with Glasgow at center, and then Awashika is going to play that left guard spot. And I think the unit just keeps growing together. The outsides, like I mentioned, are playing out of their minds. I think Penei Sewell's the best tackle in the league. He's going to win Protector of the Year. I think it's almost guaranteed at this point, and as long as he stays healthy, obviously. But you gotta be able to strengthen things in the middle. The communication has to be better. You have to block. You got to keep Jared Goff clean. You can't afford these pressures. And even though they're not letting them get home on sacks, it's still affecting the way that they play this game for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and this Giants team is killer for the Lions because they absolutely should have beat the Bears 2 weeks ago. They could have beat the Packers on Sunday. They really could have helped the Lions out the last 2 weeks, and they haven't. But, going back to the Giants-Packers game on Sunday, Jameis Winston played decent, but he was Jameis Winston. He had a pick on the final drive to tie the game, had a couple could have been picks throughout the game. On the other side, you have, Jackson Dart coming back from a concussion, and he has been a run-first quarterback most of the year. If I'm the Giants, I am absolutely not playing Dart against Aiden Hutchinson coming back from a concussion. But, how do the Lions bounce that? You could see two quarterbacks potentially on Sunday, with the Giants having not announced if Dart can play, and both quarterbacks play a very different game.
Yeah, I think that right now, I think the Lions, if I'm the Lions, I'm probably preparing for Jackson Dart. Limited practice, I understand, but I think he's probably going to wind up being okay by the end of the week. Usually don't see these things last past a week, but you never know with the brain, and you don't want to chance it. But yeah, I think Dart is if Dart's in the game, you're going to have to worry about mobility because he can definitely get out of the pocket. He can move. He can do some of the things that Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes can do. But he also has a really good arm. He can chuck that thing deep, and so you're going to have to protect yourself against the explosives. And with Winston, it's kind of similar. The mobility isn't really there as much, but he can throw the ball. His accuracy has always been off, so you can almost guarantee he's going to throw an interception if he winds up playing. It's just, when's that going to happen?
So the Lions head into Sunday, Mike, as 10.5-point favorites. Oddly enough, with this Giants team, 2-8, they've been able to keep most games close. You look at the Bears and the Packers game. I mentioned the Chiefs and the Broncos earlier in the year. One score, 10-point ball games. I think the question going into Sunday is not if the Lions can win, because they're going to win. I could almost fully guarantee that. Do they get that 10.5-point spread? Do they go into Sunday and just full throttle dominate this game, feel good headed into the biggest game of the season, Thanksgiving against the Packers, or do they win this game but maybe not as dominant as we hope?
Well, I can tell you just from a culture standpoint, just from a personality standpoint, this Lions team has never shown us that they're the team that gets down after a loss. They obviously clearly have not lost two back-to-back games in over a calendar year. What is it, 3 years at this point? It's been a long time. I don't think that they're just going to suddenly be the team that just says, oh, it's over. We couldn't beat the Eagles. It's done. So I think they're going to definitely come out swinging in this one. They want to prove that they're still that team. They want to get that taste out of their mouth. And yeah, I know that game after on Thanksgiving against the Packers is a much bigger game, but I don't see them looking past the Giants. They just have never been that team that looked past somebody.
And they've taken care of business this season with ease against the lesser opponents. They need to do the same Sunday. Mike, they're going to win. What's the score? How much do they win by?
Yeah, I think it's going to be kind of a runaway game. I'm going to go 38-10. I've got the Lions getting that run game going and just kind of running all over the team that's allowed nothing but teams to run all over them.
This team needs a feel-good win. They get it on Sunday. We'll be back next week on Tuesday before the biggest game of the season so far. Lions-Packers on Thanksgiving. First, Lions-Giants, Sunday, 1 o'clock.